All right, it is 9 o'clock. Everybody is here that's going to join us. So today we're going to get started. Hope once again that everyone has had a great day so far. Thank you for joining me. And there we go. So here's our topics for kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just a quick overview of HB3 and the Gifted and Talented certification process, because we've all completed one phase. Well, been working on two, but completed one, and also discuss what to consider when you're sharing information about your Gifted and Talented program. And then I got some guests today that's going to share out on what they do or what they would like to hear and what they want to share about their programs with others. And then I'll be monitoring the chat, and we'll have questions and answer time and as we move forward. So as you remember, with the certification time frame, we started school, we had our implementation. So right now you should have completed your district level identification. So everyone should have put into their system what you're doing for how you serve your students between the district codes 00, which is no services, from 01 to 05. And your regional service centers should be, those PIMS coordinators there should be working on cleaning up your data so that we can have this data ready and available to start reviewing. Our next key major date is March 1st, still working with serving our kinder. And then following that up in June with PIC 21 and our use of funds. So as you keep going and keep moving forward, remember, we're still watching and identifying our students as we making sure that each semester, each 6 weeks, each semester, that they're still providing services and that you're coding them correctly. Because this piece right here, that this came out with the interim charges from our Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick. You saw that the charges came out. If you have not, I will put a link to the interim charges on our website. But the interim charges for the Public Ed Committee is to monitor the implementation of legislation addressed by the Senate Committee on Education. And part of that is to make sure their recommendations to make any recommendations for the next session on any legislation that needs to be improved, enhanced, or complete implementation of the following. So we're the only ones from House Bill 3 that made it to the list so far, where they're going to look at public finance and public education. They're going to review the impact of the repeal of Gifted and Talented allotment on programs in districts and charter schools. So as you know, before, it was really kind of general statement of just districts. Now they're getting very specific into districts and charter schools. So they're going to look at, one, how you're using your money, or if you're using money, if your expenses or if your funding went down within the district compared to having an allotment. So I'm going to ask that you be very diligent in making sure your finance departments are you are making sure if you're using money or you're not using money, that all of that is being accounted for, how you use, if you're doing more locally to increase your funding, or you're getting less money. It needs to be accounted for, because if there's going to be an impact of a repeal or changes, it needs to be known. Highlight various innovative, gifted, and talented programs. You can't hear the audio. Let's see what's going on. My audio is on. So you might want to check your system if you can't hear. Can anyone else not hear me? Oh, you can hear me. Okay. So it might be a local issue. But going back to highlight various innovative, gifted, and talented programs in districts and charter schools across the state. I need your help with that when we get ready to come out with a report, and when we get ready to ask for this information, be detailed in how you're providing services. Be detailed on what your program services are in those districts, in your charter schools. So look at how you're serving, what is that innovative program, because we're going to be coming out with a request to provide that data and that information. And then following, make recommendations on methods to strengthen and promote gifted and talented programs throughout the state of Texas. So they're looking to maintain and promote gifted and talented education. So when you see me again, you know we're going to be asking, check for these different pieces and make sure that you are looking to show. And I think this is a prime example of why this, what we're talking about today, talking about your gifted and talented programs. And you're the main promoter of your program. You're the main source of information on how does that get out, what is happening there, and what is lacking in your program and what is going well in your program. And I can't articulate that very much on my behalf because one, state of Texas, we've had very limited information, but this interim charge has given, will give more power to asking those questions. So we're going to talk about fidelity of implementation, and we're getting into talking about your program services. So just highlighting for you, these are our meeting dates. I have sent out in the listserv. If you're not on our listserv for GT, you did not get the list of the next following dates and the services, the topics for the next sessions. So for today, we're talking about gifted and talented program services. On the 19th, we will be talking about professional learning. And then on the 10th, we will start our, probably a series on identification. So if you have questions on any of those two topics that's coming up, please send those in so we can work together to get your answers for those included in those sessions also. So as I said, we've talked about stabilizing your foundation, how you're serving your students, the best use of funds. We are talking today about your gifted and talented education program services, and then we're going to go into professional development and professional learning. All right. So we're going to start with talking about gifted and talented education. And so first of all, know your audience when you're getting ready to talk about your services. Are you talking to parents and caregivers, or are you talking to your campus administrators? Because each of these different groups have a different focus on what they want to know. It might be the same kind of information, but you have to target it a little bit different. Your school board of trustees members, teachers, community members, counselors, your district leadership, and then I put district instructional leaders because it's a little bit different. Those who are working more in the classroom, in the buildings, they want to know a little bit different compared to your district leadership at a higher level. So, and students want to know, what are our services? What can you do for me in the long run? How are you promoting that these students want to be a part of your program services, or are they running from your program services? Especially as they get older and the options become very limited for some of you on what are you providing in services. So when you think about promoting your program, highlight those things that you're doing well. Highlight the great things that are happening in your programs. People need to know that if you're not selling it, and it might be the best thing going on in the district, but if they don't know about it, they can't help you. They can't support that. They can't move forward with that. So make sure that you're promoting your own program. Discuss the impact on students. Some people want to know specifically how well are they doing on STAR. But then you also got to remember, we have program services. What are your program impact? How does accelerating your students look in your district? And how well is that helping those students move forward? What is that social, emotional impact on our students? How well are they doing? Looking at their whole child, how are we explaining that? What is the importance of GT services? Why are you necessary for your school district? As you've been feeling these changes and everything, some of you have felt this is one of those places like, oh, we can cut this. We don't have to worry. If we don't have the funding, we can cut. But if they need to understand, this is why it's important. This is why we got to go for it. Also, your progress towards the state goal and being in compliance with the state plan. What are you doing? How are you looking? Are you in compliance? Are you not in compliance? And then what are your vision or goals for your GT program? What are you trying to move forward to? What are you looking at? What are the changes you want to do? Are you just stagnant and this is what we've been doing for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, and there's no need to change? Have to think about that. So from our first person, we're going to get some perspective from a couple of people. And our first one is Tracy Fisher. She's a member of the Board of Trustees with Coppell ISD. Tracy, have you unmuted yourself? Let's see if she's there. Tracy? I will come back. I'm not seeing her in my chat. All right. And maybe we'll come back to Tracy, see where she's at, and if she can unmute later, and we'll join on. All right. So a couple of things when you're thinking about, and I just pulled certain aspects from the state plan. So looking at our accountability, looking at our statements. So the first one, when you're looking at disseminating information to parents, is in two places. You have to share information on our written policies, basically what has been approved for on identification. So parents should know how you identify students, not necessarily what measures you're using, but how you're identifying students and then how they're placed, and then where those policies live. So have some kind of place in your website, on your documents, on how you're giving, sharing that information. It might be your year-to-year flyer when you're announcing that your referral period is open, or it might be in your student handbooks on how they can find that, or it might be posted on your website, or it might be at your PTA meetings or your first open night, where you're sharing this information, or you're having people share it on how to find the policies within your district. And then an awareness session. We put this in there. Now your awareness sessions is locally controlled on how you do this, on an overview of your assessment procedures and services to students. Kind of goes back to 2.1 where we just left. Add those pieces in together. So how are you going to provide? It might be a little vignette on or a little infomercial on your website about your program services that everyone can find at any point in time, or something that you provide as a part of your newsletter or your parent info that goes out in their on your parent portals. But also you need to think about what is your process for your teachers. How will they know it's time to nominate to refer a student for services? How do your other members, your staff people, understand these are the services that we provide and how they're a part of that venue for your students? So then the beautiful array of learning, three different sections in our system of the state plan. So one, you're going to make sure that you have an array of learning opportunities and it is clear. What are your top experiences that you want students to have? Making sure they're in the 4 core, and then what's going beyond. Oh no, a lot of you will start expanding your program services so that everyone understands what's available and what those opportunities are for your students. And then how are they challenging? How are they going forward to make sure that they are available. And then when you look at available during the school day as well as the entire school year, because that's going to be a parent question, especially your elementary parents. How's that happening? How you're ensuring that? And then are you explaining that to your administration so that they will not be the first ones to start say, I need to pull the GT teacher or the pull-out teacher to be a sub today. Got it? All right. So and then your special opportunities. I know a lot of you do Destination Imagination, you do Model UN, you do different robotics activities, you do chess activities. So think about those services that you're providing, and do parents know if you have a special summer camp that students can participate in. If you do TPSP or different projects or services, how do they know that this is something that their child can participate in, and what the contests are, and how are they recognized for that? Do you do a special recognition process for your GT students to say this is what we got going on? So think about how you're celebrating and highlighting your special opportunities beyond the classroom, beyond the regular school day for your students. Same thing, still, what are those products achievements? Are you showcasing your work? Are people knowing outside the school building, outside the program, what's really going on to say, that's something I can invest in, something that I can support, something that I'm willing to share. So, and then the effectiveness of your GT services. We've talked about evaluation earlier, but how are you sharing that information with the Board of Trustees? How are you sharing that data? How's it making improvements on your campuses? How's it coming up in your district improvement plan? How it's showing in your campus improvement plans? What are those outcomes and findings that you want to say, this is where we need to move forward as a district. This is where we were looking for at our campus. This campus has these goals, this campus has this goals, but this is our overall district campus. This is how well we're doing. I never assume everyone's doing bad. I assume everyone's doing great and moving forward. But if you don't tell anyone about how well you're doing, no one can say, I can help you, I can promote you, I can move forward. Because they're always looking to highlight and celebrate different things as we move forward in our own careers. So make sure you let others know what is going well in your program. So back to informing parents, make sure you have input on and family community representatives in your identification process. Now we say input is invited annually. So basically you're just inviting them to give you some information. Not necessarily it's going to change some of your program guidelines, but you want to know, did you get the communication in a timely notice? Were you aware that your student was placed or did not be placed? So how's the communication? Some of those things might become a part of your communication process. Then the following shared at those annual meetings or those recommendations, you're just sharing out what, as you do these evaluations, especially if you're doing parent evaluations, how's that going out? And then orientation or periodic updates. What are your program services? How are you serving those different services of those students who are identified? What are you looking at in middle school? What are you looking at in high school? How does that change? And how do that overall looks like? So we got a question, how are districts evaluating the program? What metrics are being captured for evaluation? So that's going to be, and if some districts have some options on how they're doing that, if you would share, that would be great. We'll work on getting some more information on that topic as we move forward. I think each district has something a little bit different. I know Taggett has a evaluation tool that they have on their website. that you may can look at. But I think also, what are you looking at as your program on evaluation? I also would think, because one, the state plan is very large and intense. Are you looking at certain pieces or the entire state plan or sections of the state plan as you go forward in your evaluation? Specifically, you do have to evaluate your professional learning and to make sure that it is wrapping around to student impact. So what are you providing to your teachers and educators for gifted program services, and how is that affecting services, or what are the needs for those student services? All right, so they're looking for student growth. Okay, so we got people sharing, and we will, that is something we can also look at in helping you build out, either from our perspective as an agency or Tagit. I'm gonna throw them out there on the wing for me. Tagit might can also help provide that with their new task force and part of their resources. And I'm gonna also lean on my CAC with the university side, and that might be something they can look in also on different pieces on how to evaluate your program, specifically on student growth and those growth measures as we move forward. I think I have one question pushback on that is, are we looking specifically on STAR growth, or we're looking at growth building off of our program services and looking at your curriculum and how you're measuring your curriculum? So I think those are a couple of things you also need to address and give us guidance on, because we can always wrap it around STAR, but I think that always going to be the pushback from us or others is sometimes you're not the teacher of record or the teacher of influence on STAR performance. So how can we incorporate STAR performance if you have a pullout and you're not the direct impactor on that? So let's talk about being realistic on what are we looking at and what we're looking for, and how it can tie back to our program services. Because if you have program services that are not, even though they're the 4 core, and you're doing interdisciplinary and they're pulled out, how's that going straight back into a STAR results? So you have to really look at what are you looking at as a district and for that process. All right, so I got your chat, so I'm gonna move forward with that. So when you think about what to share with your district personnel, look at your curricular needs for GT training. Talk about training. What are your GT services? How you can collaborate with your other programs. Specifically, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking with your math department, with their guidance on how students get into Algebra 1 at earlier grades. Sometimes you're a part of that conversation in the test measures that they're using. Sometimes you're not a part of that conversation. Tracy is with us. I'm gonna get you in a minute, Tracy. And someone is on there and I hear you. I'm gonna mute somebody in a minute. And then talk about your program goals with the curricular people. They need to know, what are you looking for? What are your services? How you're gonna develop curriculum, and how they can help with developing curriculum. All right. Your campus administrators, they need to know, what are you looking for in identification, placing students, because sometimes your campus administrators are your hardest fight with placement, especially when you're looking at acceleration, looking at your program services on pulling them out, making sure that they are being served continuously throughout the school year. Progress monitoring, they're going in to look at teachers, but they're also, how do they know a student is being successful in your services? What are their GT responsibilities, understanding the state plan, and what are their training requirements, and what are the training requirements of the teachers on their campus? So they need to understand that. And then going back to your instructional specialists and coaches, still, what are your program services? How are they monitoring students and teachers? What are some of the instructional considerations that they should be looking for based on your curriculum needs? And then the training requirements. All right. And then we look at our sharing with our counselors and teachers. Counselors, let them know we're having a new training that's going to be emphasizing more on social and emotional needs of our students. Those scheduling issues, especially our counselors at the high school level, making sure that our GT students are being served. What are those GT characteristics, placement, and the social emotional needs? And then our teachers, same thing, but also progress monitoring, how they're looking at their students. We know a lot of our students are at the top of their echelon. They're doing the best that they can. But sometimes are they being challenged to step beyond? Or are they feeling the growth need? And that's what you also need to conversate with your teachers is just because they're, sitting there being quiet and doing whatever you ask, are you really challenging our students to go to the next level? Are you giving them that rigor that they need, that opportunity to feel challenged in their own education process? All right, so I'm gonna slide back. Tracy's with us, and I'm sorry for my flip. Tracy.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, I am so sorry. First, I just need to tell everyone, school board members don't usually do webinars. No excuses, but anyway, I'm excited to be here. Go ahead, Monica.
All right. Well, we're going to let you have your time. So if you would just give us, this is Tracy Fisher. She is, once again, a board member for Coppell ISD, and she is also a member of our Commissioner's Advisory Council for Gifted and Talented Education. And she has kindly agreed to kind of tell us from her perspective of what she would like to hear, because I know a lot of you would like to know what to tell your board members. And so she's going to kind of give us an idea of what she would like to hear and know from her perspective, one as a supporter of GT and as a parent of a GT student, but on the board, giving us some general ideas. All right, Tracy.
All right. Well, thank you for having me and bearing with me here. I wanted to start just by saying, or I guess reframing the role of a school board member. I guess not reframing it, but school board members are the policymakers in every district. And within that role, we have one employee, the superintendent, and we're responsible for school districts' futures. We're responsible to monitor and evaluate, and we serve as advocates. And that role should not ever be taken lightly. Just as a lot of you that work with gifted children or in these service areas are advocates, and you have to be, because you are more alone than you are with the rest of the group. So sometimes that's the role you play. But anyway, with school board members, and as a school board member, we support all children. One of the things, of course, we've all heard that sometimes GT kids or GT services may appear to be elite services. Well, quite frankly, they're not. And in my opinion, and as a school board member, that discussion needs to be reframed about GT and the role GT education has with our kids. It is addressing more of our kids' needs, but truly the GT education is the R&D for all education. We know that there are so many strategies that have come from GT education and research. So basically, from my perspective as a board member, I look at GT as if it will truly help all children. And the more we do it, and the more focus we have on the research and development in our district for education, the better we're going to be able to reach all kids. Differentiation and grouping, pace, the asynchronous development of GT children, all of that is really important for school board members to understand. So school boards need to have their capacity built. ways to build capacity in school board members, and I mean, I don't mean to preach to the choir, because I know you all support GT and you will continue to support GT, but all of these things in the state plan, the identification, the assessment, the services provided. As a board member, I want to know about the furloughs, exits from the GT program. I want to know that there's evidence that all of our populations are being reached. And quite frankly, this is a great opportunity for the GT curriculum in two ways. One is that the new state plan is a leverage to use to get that message of importance of GT education to your school board members right now. Typically, GT reports are done annually, and a lot of deer in the headlights because there isn't a lot of capacity building in this topic area. But ask for a workshop on GT, get into a deeper dive, and really just, as far as I'm concerned, just really make this a focus, because as Monica mentioned earlier, this House Bill 3, this is one of the first focus areas, and it should be a priority. And this is an opportunity to push education into the future with respect to making sure another group of students are met every day. And, you know, I guess that's all I have. I just look at this as GT is R&D for education, and who doesn't want research and development.
All right. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
All right. So we will continue. Our next speaker is Meredith Alston. Meredith is the GT coordinator for Humble ISD. I think I want to also say this might be Meredith's first year in that position, or a year and a half into that. So Meredith, as a new coordinator and working in Humble, give us your viewpoints and what you've been sharing.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on here. And one of the things that I am really trying to do, and I know that it fits in specifically with what you were trying to say, like marketing ourselves and finding, you know, our voice within the district. So I'm really trying to develop some sort of specific brand, and even just looking through at, you know, even visuals, even, you know, the language I use, and it being consistent to everyone that hears anything from the GT office, and kind of looking at that. But one of the big things that's kind of been a struggle for me learning how to navigate here, because, you know, all districts are different, is really, you know, when it comes to this Pick 21 and the use of funds, really trying to figure out, okay, who's the person that's ultimately in charge for this, and having some sort of policy. And so that's what we're really working on now, is having that, you know, even down to the, you know, which teachers are going to be coded for GT, how are we going to develop that percentages, and having a formal policy in place. And so I've been kind of leaning on the state and federal programs department that we have here, and how they have things set up with state comp ed. And so the formulas and a lot of the guidance that's already in use is very, seems like it applies well, and it's pretty useful. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. But just things in general that I think that I would need just going forward, are really kind of looking at each one of these different pieces of things we have to create according to the state plan, like having an evaluation tool for resources, what, you know, an action plan for any areas we have out of compliance would look like, what even a use of funds policy would look like. So I think, you know, either as a community, as a group, start kind of pulling together things that people have created, or just the ideas of what needs to be in place there. But I'm super excited. I'm loving the state plan and the fact that it actually has a little bit of teeth right now, and going through with that. And so it's very exciting. And next to me, behind me here, I have Tracy Scholes from A-Leaf ISD. So, hi. But all right, well, thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Meredith. Hi, how's it going today? All right. So, and we have no questions popping up. We're going to keep moving. And our next guest is Tia Locke Simmons with Houston ISD. She is the new Gifted and Talented Director. And Tia, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Tia. I have been the director here for almost 2 weeks now. So I have a lot of learning, and I'm excited to lean on the support of this network and this circle. Right now, we are diving deeply into the state plan and developing, we'll be working with our team this week to develop processes on how we communicate the expectations in our state plan to our various stakeholder groups, to be sure that we are creating a sense of urgency and a sense of understanding, just a knowledge base for each stakeholder group and what their role looks like in ensuring that we meet the expectations in our state plan. We are also working this week on the Interdisciplinary Studies Mentor Seminar in our district. It is an existing course for GT students. So we'll be submitting that proposal to continue with that. And we'll be working with our core team here and the involved building principals. We are also working on increasing the identification of our GT students in the district. And so I would love to hear back from other districts on some processes and communications within districts and with external stakeholders and parents on what that looks like in other districts. And then I also would like to have information from other districts regarding instructional tools that they're using to provide instructional feedback and support on campuses to help make sure that we are driving ongoing professional development and support in the classroom so that our teachers are not only hearing an expectation for depth and complexity and pacing, but what does it actually look like and how are you supporting that work in your districts?
All right, Tia, thank you. She put a lot out there as an ask. Tia, I'm gonna ask that you put it in the chat also, those specific questions, because we'll put this log back out there for others
Okay.
to see so that we can have those questions and we can build on those from our different standpoints. And so that leads us to some of the key points that you can always include in your points of conversation. What are your areas of accomplishment or success? Just some general knowledge. We cannot make the assumption everyone knows that there's a state plan and what's those key points in the state plan. What are some key happenings in your program services? Always give some data points. How are you doing with compliance and what are your program goals? Where are you trying to go with your services? Are you trying to build in a new component or you're looking good where you are? Are you trying to build out training? So at this point, it is time to share your practices. So I know a lot of you, and I see some of you on my participant log that I know who have been doing a great job right now, prior to now, talking about your program services, talking about what's going on in your districts. So this is an opportunity to unmic yourself, to talk out and share and impact the rest of our state and what your program services are all about. So anybody would like to step out there? Because I saw some names on that chat that I can call out in a minute. Let's see if I see her name still on there. Michelle Swain, would you like to tell what you're doing in Round Rock? Or Rain, because I think Rain was on there also.
I'm on here, Rain from Round Rock. I can tell
Yes.
you some, a couple of years ago, we made some pretty big changes with using local norms that I feel we looked at some longitudinal data and we're definitely moving up and identifying more of our lower SES kids at our lower SES schools. So basically what we did, we worked with the research and development department and we do give a universal screener of the COGAT at 2nd grade. And we took that data and we grouped like schools with like schools. So we had kind of larger data sets rather than looking at it just on a campus level. And we created like 3 bands within our school. And in those bands, we made our target scores for what we look at for identification. And it seems to have really helped us. We had some schools under 5%, quite a few. And over the last 2 years since we've implemented that, we're almost getting everyone above 5%. We have some well over 5%, but that was kind of a first rung goal, is get everybody at least there. So that's been working really well. We're actually going to recalibrate those local norms this year, switching to the COGAT 8 and kind of redo it all again, look at the SES of the schools, make sure nobody has moved, because some, when there's a lot of movement or in the population, sometimes a school might now be grouped with a different organization. So we've had some good luck with that. We also went to a tiered service model. So we kind of have, if you think RTI, like we have like talent development is like everybody is in the talent development. That's kind of our tier 2 service. That would include doing a TPSP, participating in the showcase, social emotional support, cluster class, working with tag teacher. And then our tier 3 service that starts in 3rd grade would be for kids that need additional, like an accelerated math. And you can be, the program is, we're working on it being more flexible and responsive to student needs, rather than a focus on like a lifetime identification. Like if you need this now, then we put this in place. Some of the things we're working on are progress monitoring in secondary. That's a big focus for us to do a better job at that. I've got some task force meetings coming up to try to see how we can kind of beef that up at the secondary level. But our elementary, I feel, has really been pretty strong with some of those changes.
All right, thank you. Because Michelle stated she was having difficulty, but thank you, you've put it out there. Anyone else would like to share what's going on? Because I'm just scrolling. I'm gonna call some people in a minute. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna do an open call. I'm gonna unmute. So, Lindsay Bell of Somerville. Lindsay, you there? Let's see her chat. No mic. Y'all in these mics. We're gonna work on this mic. Any of my ESC people would like to share out? Okay. As you know, I try to keep our time to the limit. If no one else has anything they want to share for the common good, and thank you for putting those into the chat and your information. And anyone have any suggestions or comments back or questions, feel free to send those as we go forward, so we can have these conversations as we move forward, because I definitely see Celeste's issue with her school district and the principals snatching the teachers. And so, okay, we'll talk, Celeste. C. Smith, I got a Monica. Is that Cherie Smith?
That is.
Hi, Cherie.
Hey, so I'm going to talk
Yay.
from an
Thank you.
ESC perspective.
All right.
So at my GT coordinators, I think what my districts are struggling with is we've got districts of all sizes, from a K-12 school to a big district, and just what it looks like in their district versus bigger districts. And I think we have a lot of new coordinators who don't have that foundation of how to help do this. So they're really wanting kind of network, as I heard somebody say, or get some sort of framework or templates of, so what does it look like in this that we need our evaluation? What does it look like in disseminating this information to parents? Because a lot of them wear other hats than GT. So they are just so overwhelmed with wanting to do and be aligned to the state plan, but really struggling on just getting some help with some, a way to do that, in whether it's a school district that has 200 kids to a school district that has 30,000 kids. So any way that we can begin to help them in that area, I think would help a lot.
All right. Thank you, Cherie. That's Region 18.
TAGT.
Monica, this is Delana. Can I jump in?
Yes, you can.
Hi, everyone. This is Delana Barbay, and I'm currently president of TAGT, and I kind of wanted to step in and share some things that we at TAGT are doing to really address what was just discussed, and that is needing those materials, the resources, and kind of a template, and really getting a feel for what is everyone else doing, because we don't want to all recreate the wheels if we don't have to, if they're already there and we can start utilizing them. And that's what our task force is currently doing. We're putting together some templates to start that basic review of where are the discrepancies in your current plan with the new state plan, and then really what are some templates of things that you can start utilizing to meet those areas that you're deficient with. And we're also going to be hosting several sessions at our TAGT conference this year in December that will actually address those specific needs. They're going to be work sessions so that you leave not only with templates, but you leave with some work started as you've been having discussions with people that look like you, be it a small rural or a large urban. You'll have that opportunity to talk and work and really do some networking with people that look like you as we move forward with this, because it is a lot of changes. And we just wanted to step out and kind of be helpful with that. So I wanted to share that with everyone.
All right. Thank you. I think someone else was wanting to speak also. Was that Paulina?
This is Paulina, but Delana, thank you for that, and that's all we've got at the TAGT end.
Okay. All right. Any other comments and shares for the common good? All right. And we see that there are a need for more info on the secondary level and what you're doing at that point. Okay. Excuse me. So as you know, I try to keep it down to within our hour. So we'll take some questions if you have some. Thank you for putting it in the chat. And if not, I will show you where a lot of this is being housed before I walk away. And if there are no questions that you want to throw out. And this is how 11:15, I'm sorry, that it should be 11:19 instead of the 15th. At 1 p.m. is our next session where we'll talk about professional learning. If you have questions, you can meet me, you can email me at either of these email addresses. You can reach me there. All right. Thank you, Tracy. She says, arm your school board members with knowledge and they will advocate for you. And think about some of those other places where we can reach out and touch points with others. I'm going to do a new share. I want to go, stop this share. No, skip. Give me 1 minute. So, All right, so I wanted to share with you where you can find a couple of things. One, if you have not received, I do not do a lot of listservs, but I do some periodically. And the last one did have the last 3 sessions on that, and then a statement of clarification and then an announcement for something else. But if you will go, when you go to the TA website and sign up for updates, this is where you can do that. You can put your email address in and submit, and then select Gifted and Talented Education, so that you know where to find those information. The other piece I wanted to share, for those who are sharing with us the first time, if you go to our Gifted and Talented webpage, on the corner here, if you want to come back and watch this Zoom will probably be up tomorrow. I'm actually at another location. I am out of off the agency's location. So, but if you missed any, they are here. All of the links are there, the chat logs, the conversations, and this is where you can find those pieces and the upcoming dates for our meetings. What I also will do is update on the website, put the code links to those since they have been published, so that you can find it. So you can find the chat log, the recording link, and a PDF of the presentation. So I want to say thank you. The FAQs are being updated at this time. So I have a series of things that I'm working on. I'm working on the FAQs. I am working on the program review questions that were previously there. And I'm working on the school board training, updating that, and also updating the administrators training. So those are beyond developing these 2-week, every other week sessions. So those are my 6 main projects at the moment that I'm working on and getting out to you. So brief, I will get those out as soon as possible. And we will keep trucking. So if everyone is good, hopefully I will get those done in a timely, within the next couple of weeks, but at least before I tag it. But if not, I will see you on the 19th, and then I will see you once again at Tag It. So have a great week. Enjoy this semi on and off warm weather before we go back to the freezing cold. So see you on the 19th. All right, have a good day, everyone.